Hey drummers, it's Rob Litton here from drumsaword.com. Welcome to this free mini song lesson where today I'm going to attempt to show you how to play the song Tush by ZZ Top, drummed of course by the beardless Frank Beard. I've got both pages of PDF notation for you to download from my website for free, covering the main grooves, the main drum fills. There's not much going on in this song, but technique wise, boy is it advanced, and I'm going to probably slaughter the sound of it. I'm not going to be able to replicate quite how well Frank plays this. It's a style of drumming like jazz or metal that you sort of need to be brought up with and comfortable with to make it sound really, really nice. But I'll show you what he's playing. It's then up to you to sort of make it sound good. This song was suggested over on my Facebook page, and so if you want to make your own song suggestions, then you can go over there to do so. You'll find a link beneath this video, and you might want to type in song suggestions in the YouTube comments below as well. I'm always interested to hear other people's song suggestions. So the first thing I want to do is talk about what Frank's actually playing, and then perhaps I'll show you some variations as well. I will show you some variations. So Frank comes in with the rest of the band on beat 4 with this flam. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's 2 bars of guitar. Da 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 da. Blap. Yes, it's 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think he's playing the bass drum underneath it on beat 4. That makes sense because he is pumping the bass drum on all 4 beats of the main drum beat. So I'm going to skip over bar 1 for now. Sorry, bar 2. Let's go straight to bar 3, which is really our repeating drum beat. So really this is what you want to get comfortable looping, and this is what Frank plays. Now, on the recording, you don't really hear the bass drums on beat 2 and 4, falling with the snare drum backbeat. But when you see him play it live, you do hear him play it. So I have a feeling that it's definitely there on the recording, it's just that snare drum is cutting over the bass drum sound. We'll talk about taking out the bass drum on beats 2 and 4 as well, if you wanted to make it a little bit easier. But again, let's just focus on what Frank's actually playing on the recording. So he's playing quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. A lot of drummers I see when they're trying to replicate this song, because it's a lot easier, play the shuffle rhythm here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. What Frank is actually doing is playing that shuffle rhythm on the snare drum, and it's just quarter notes being played on the hi-hat. So the hi-hat's playing quarter notes. The left hand, the technique-wise, this is where it gets advanced. You've got to be able to play this. 1 and 2 and 3. And I missed a snare drum. I raised my snare drum yesterday, so I'm still getting used to this this height. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. We're playing triplets, but we're only playing the first and the third note of each triplet. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 1 and 2. And just to make it easier, you count it as a shuffle. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So that's going on quite a bit throughout the song. That's a lot of technique-wise. You've got to be relaxed. You've got to use a little bit of a whip action. That's the key stroke there, where you get the ghost note before the accent. Using that whip action, it's going to be a lot easier for you than have to go. Your wrist ends up becoming incredibly stiff. So we'll talk about simplifying it in a second, but if you really can't get that, then you probably want to leave out the ghost notes 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but of course it won't be the same. I believe this is called the Texan Shuffle, by the way, or it's related to the Texas Shuffle, where you're playing the shuffle on the snare drum rather than hi-hat. So let's put those 2 parts together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Underneath that, Frank is playing quarter notes on the bass drum. Finally, what he does is he shuffles it on the and a beat 2 and the and a beat 4, creating this kind of jazz ride pattern on the bass drum. 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1. But on the bass drum, so we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So lining up those bass drums with the ghost notes, with your left hand doing all that action, this is why this is an advanced drum beat to be able to play as Frank plays it. all kinds of things are going to be going on. You're probably going to want to play extra bass drum notes every time, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You're probably going to want to start shuffling the right hand if you're not used to playing it. But once you get it into muscle memory, it does actually become a little bit easier. When I first tried playing this, I was like, whoa, this is going to be weird. But actually after 5, 10, 20 minutes practicing it, it does actually start to become a little bit more comfortable, and you start to be able to line the bass drum up with the ghost notes. So that's what Frank is actually playing. Let's talk about some variations. So the most obvious variation is to shuffle on the hi-hat, play the bass drum on quarter notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So if you're really struggling with this song, of course you could play that. That'll get you through the song. If you just want to play along for fun rather than learn what Frank's playing, then that will get you through. Of course you can add ghost notes in as well. You can add in the shuffle bass drum. You could shuffle every note. And then also I want to mention what Frank does, what you hear on the recording. Like I said a second ago at the beginning, you don't really hear the bass drums on beat 2 and 4. So you could just play this if you wanted to. I'm leaving out the bass drum on beat 2 and 4. But like I said, when you hear him play it live, he definitely keeps that bass drum in quarter notes, and that helps to drive the groove forward. So there you go, that's the variations of what Frank's playing. Let's go back to bar 2, where how we come into it. And it's quite hard to hear on the recording, but after that flam on 4, into the crash cymbal, 1 and 2. And he comes in with that first skip note on the and beat 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So we come in with 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Oh, that was weird. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. I did it again. I'm going to keep that mistake in. 1, 2, 3, Merry Christmas. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So let me now try and play it again for you, sort of best I can, up to speed without me yakking on over the top and making stupid mistakes like that. Here we go. So then at 18 seconds we get the first of these pushes, accent stabs with the rest of the band that occur throughout the song, like 3 or 4 times. The first one here, and they're all slightly different to each other. I've included the first half of the bar because that's how you go into it. 1 and 2 and 3. And then again, it's quite hard to hear on the recording. I don't think Frank plays any bass drum on beat 4. You just get the hi-hat on beat 4. 3 and 4, and then we get the snare and crash, is the important bit, the stab part, on the and beat 4. 4, 3 and 4, and 3 and 4, and. Snare and crash on the and. He doesn't feel the need to rush back anywhere on beat 1. He comes back in with the snare drum and groove on beat 2. 3 and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. So those 2 bars slowly. 1 and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I don't think he plays the bass drum with that and a 4. He does later on, as we'll see in a second, but at that first time I think he just plays snare and crash. Okay, let's hear that a couple of times up to speed. So at 26 seconds we get the first of this other sort of section that gets repeated, the end of the 12 bar sequence, 12 bar blues. So I've included the first bar because you can see at the end of the bar we get this accent on the and beat 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I don't think he plays it with the bass drum, just the snare drum on its own, and 1. So we go into the next bar, the drum fill bar, and 1. And that second note on the triplet is written as a ghost note. Really sort of feel it as building up in volume. 1 triplet 2, 1 triplet 2, right left, so don't really feel the need to sort of make that one note quieter than the next two normal volume. Sort of feel it as a sort of building up in volume. So we get to 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 triplet 2. And then we get that crash and bass drum on the and 2. 1, 2 and 3. He then comes back in on the and beat 3, with 4 triplet notes. I recommend you start with your right hand, you come out with your right hand nicely. And 4 triplet 1, and they're all played the same volume. So that second bar on its own, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 triplet 1. 1 triplet and 3 and 4 triplet 1. In context with the drum beat, and I always recommend you try and do this, practice a drum fill with the drum beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 triplet 2 and 3 and 4 triplet 1. Okay, let's hear that a couple of times up to speed. So at 34 seconds we get another one of those offbeat stabs, and it's slightly different. So the drum beat leading up to it, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, standard stuff. Then I think he does play the bass drum with that snare drum crash. So it's exactly the same as the one that occurs at 18 seconds, except beat 4 has the snare drum downbeat, backbeat, and then we also get the bass drum with that snare and crash on the and 4. 4 and then the next bar is exactly the same as the previous example, the groove just continues. So that bar again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and... By the way, you can choose any one of these three that you feel most comfortable with and play that version through the entire song every time. You don't have to vary it like Frank does. You can choose one and just play that one if you wanted to. Anyway, let's hear that a couple of times up to speed. So then at 48 seconds we get this drum fill. Very simple, just a bar of 8th note triplets. It starts with the bass drum from the preceding drum beat. We get 1 triplet, 2 triplets, 6 on the snare drum, then 2, 2, 2. If you've only got 2 toms, you could play 4, 2. That would sound fine. But if you've got 3 toms, 2, 2, 2. So we get 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. Onto the second page of the notation, and at 54 seconds we get our final variation of that offbeat stab on the and beat 4. And what Frank does now is he shuffles the bass drum on the and 3 and the and 4, leading up to that snare crash and bass drum on the and 4. So we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and he shuffles it quietly twice. Which is quite a cool idea. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it sort of adds, it means you don't hear that backbeat on beat 4 stand out. You hear the and 4 as a push, which is quite a powerful effect where sort of you're expecting the snare drum backbeat and it doesn't, it comes on the and 4, which is a cool idea. He also, as I said, and I missed there, shuffled to the bass drum with those 2 ghost notes. Then the second bar is the same as our previous examples. The groove just continues on beat 2. So let's hear that a couple of times up to speed. So then finally how the song ends, we get 204, we get 1 and 2 and 3, and he does this a few other times throughout the song where he pushes on the bass drum on the and 3, but this is the most obvious time he does it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You could play a ghost note with that and 3, but I don't think Frank does. I think he just plays it on its own with the bass drum. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then we get the and 4 and 1. Snare, open hi-hat, closes on beat 1 of the next bar, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the song ends with that classic da-da, and it's played with the snare drum, and I think he's playing the bass drum underneath it. 1, starting with your right hand on the and beat 1, we're going to play a faster 16th note triplet, and 2, and 2. Those first 3 notes are written as ghost notes. Again, don't worry about getting that precisely. I'm sort of just leading up to beat 2 in volume. Making sure that beat 2 with my left hand there coming down as a rim shot. So we get 1, 2, 1 and 2 and 3. The song ends with that crash cymbal on the and of beat 2. I think he plays the bass drum on 1 and 2 ands as well. So we get. So in context with the rest of that line, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4. So let's hear that a couple of times. So there you go. Hope you had fun. Hope you forgive me for slaughtering that groove. I did my best there to make it sound as nice as Frank, but you know, it's one of those things. If you've got any questions, feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com. Don't forget to download both pages of the free PDF from my website. And then while you're out there at the website, you might want to consider signing up to become an online member. And what I currently offer for $97 is a full year's online access to every single full video song lesson I've ever recorded and transcribed. Unlike this lesson, on my full song lessons, I teach you every single bar from start to finish. You get the fully transcribed PDF drum chart to go with each lesson. And like I said, I've got almost 500 full song lessons up on the website already, including a load of other ZZ Top lessons. I'm sure I'll be adding more in the future as well. As a thank you for signing up, I'll give you access to hundreds of little videos teaching you many, many famous drum beats, fills, and even drum solos. I give you 3 ebooks I've written over the years containing hundreds more famous beats, fills, and solos. And then over the year of your subscription, you also gain instant online access to all the new material that I upload for my members. And I record new lessons every week unless I'm ill or on holiday. So you've got lots of cool stuff to look forward to over the year of your subscription. But if you've got any questions about any of that, then feel free to email me, rob@drumstheword.com. And until our next drum lesson together, doodle bip and happy drumming to you.